What's up, my PUBG dudes? So, I'm finally learning PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. That's what this video is all about here. I wanted to talk about kind of going from that super noob beginner stage to actually being able to somewhat slay everybody to a certain extent. I'm not saying I can, win every single match or whatever, but I'm just saying I now figure out what the game's all about as far as a skill-based kind of system. I've figured out the little intricacies that take you from that like person that knows nothing about the game to actually figuring out how everything works in it. So I'm going to try to explain everything that I learned in a very short amount of time on this game. I still only have like, I don't know, somewhere like 15, 20 hours maybe. Like I've got a fraction of what most people have in it. But one big difference is whenever I first got into the game, all I was playing was solos, right? Like all the time. It was just solo, solo, solo. And that's a very different atmosphere than playing squads. And when I first got into squads about a week ago with some random subscribers and fans and friends and stuff, we would just get on there and play with four of us. And what playing on squads does is it allows you to learn the game and really try out different things without always feeling like you're being shot from every single direction or feel like you just can't even move because everyone's everywhere like free-for-all on Call of Duty. That's kind of how solos are. You don't even feel like you can really do anything because you're just going to get shot and killed instantly. You don't feel like you can even shoot or everyone's going to hear you and come hunt you down like a wolf trying to hunt down a little crying baby rabbit. Like that's what it feels like when you're playing solos. So solos in my mind is way harder than squads. I mean, solos, you got to have your head on a swivel, dog. Like you got to be pretty sharp to play solos. And what I figured out is like once I went and played squads for a little while and then came back to solos, I was all of a sudden like pretty good at solos. That's because I've really been able to put a little bit of time in without having all that stress of like constantly feeling like I'm going to die in solos. I've really had like a lot of fun shootouts with all four of us guys would be fighting another squad and they'd be across the town and we'll be shooting a little bit at them and then they would shoot back at us and then you could get hit and go down and then get revived and come back and do all that. So from doing that, I've learned a lot about the game in the recent past. Now, one of the biggest things about this game, pretty much the whole game, is map recognition. When you're a beginner, that's everything. It's all about figuring out, okay, what's the potential of someone coming from this certain direction? Where is the majority of people going to come from? That sort of thing. I feel like when you very first get into this game, you're kind of running around with the chicken, like a chicken with their head cut off. You don't know where you're going. You don't know where people are coming from. You're just on this big, super open map, and you're just looking for something that's moving to shoot. That's kind of what it's like. But once you learn the premises of the game, then, oh, dude, I slayed that guy right there. So this gameplay right here, I'm pretty sure this is the one where I almost killed every single person in this little town right here and almost made it out. I think I got to the very last guy and he got me with that. He was like in a building right beside me and he heard me shoot and then he was able to come kill me. And I laid down in a spot where he could just barely see me and he ended up getting me there. But, yeah, it was this was probably one of my best games so far as like, I think I got like 5 kills or something like that in this one, just in this one little town. Like if I would have made it out of this town, I could have definitely potentially had like a 10 or 15 kill game going here. So it's going to be fun to watch for you guys, but it's, yeah, you start to learn where the majority of people can come from. You'll learn kind of like the importance of like where certain towns are. Obviously, there's like little exceptions to the rule where you can always have some random dude in some spot that you never expected. That can always happen, but you start to learn more of the majority of where like most people will land, where the main cities are, where the circle's going to go into, how much quicker the circle's coming in. You start learning how to really listen for people. I've always talked about that, how this game is super based around hearing things, not only gunshots, but also footsteps. And that's kind of how that works there. But when it becomes like in this solo action specifically, you got to be really careful when you shoot somebody without a silencer, because that's going to attract all kinds of attention, and that's where you have to know where you are in relation to visual points where other people could potentially shoot you. So that's where you can kind of use like buildings and things like that, and figure out if you can actually go get loot. Like if this wall wasn't right here in front of me, I would have never went to try to get this loot, because there's so much potential for people to shoot me on that other side. But since that loot was down in that bush right there and behind that wall, I felt like it was a pretty safe risk to try to go get that loot. And me staying in this building right here is making it to where it's kind of like that cave effect, if you will, where when you're in a cave, there's only really one point of entry. You only have to look one direction. But when you're out in the open, you've got a damn 360-degree area where you can get attacked from. And it's the same premise in this game. You're always kind of trying to look for a cave. On solos, you're trying to find ways to cover your back without actually having to cover your back. That's kind of the only way to explain it there. But once you start learning that, then it all becomes easier. But another really big aspect is getting all of your sensitivity down right, because they've got so many different, you can actually adjust the sensitivity of all your different aims. Like you can adjust the sensitivity, your targeting sensitivity, your actual, just your straight up aiming sensitivity. You've got all your different scopes, like your red dot scope sensitivity, your 2x sensitivity, 4x sensitivity, 8x sensitivity. You can adjust all of those independently. So it's not just like you're adjusting one sensitivity, you're adjusting all kinds of sensitivity. So really learning how to work all that and figure out what works best for you is another humongous aspect. That's what's changed a lot for me actually being able to shoot people now, is the fact that I'm to the point where my sensitivity feels good when I'm aiming at a super long range, and it feels good when I'm like trying to really aim quickly at somebody close to me. Like all that kind of has conjuncted together to give me a pretty good feeling with the shooting. And obviously once you learn the game a little bit more, then you can make it a little bit more sensitive, just like anything. But yeah, it's just about like listening for people and figuring out when you can move to engage those people. And it's just all about kind of knowing your surroundings, knowing what's around you. And I know that sounds like so low level, cheesy and simple and stuff, but that's really the whole game. The actual part where you're aiming and shooting, I mean, it is a big part, but for the most, it's not like Call of Duty where most of the time you're finding yourself, oh, look at this dude right here. Ooh, almost got him. It's not like Call of Duty in the sense where 99% of your gun battles, you both just randomly run right into each other. And you're both like, just shooting all over the place because you didn't even know that guy was going to be there, and he didn't know you was going to be there either. That is an occasion there where, see right here, I didn't notice that guy in that window over there. That was my bad. That, that's where I should have been looking, and I wasn't looking good enough. So that was an occasion where I should have been smarter. Once I shot that guy, I shouldn't have ran right in. But in my head, I was thinking, dude, that's got to be almost all the people that landed here. I couldn't believe how many people landed here. I already killed like 3 or 4, and there was like 2 more there. That was crazy. So that was like a math calculation in my head, like, oh, I probably killed everybody here. But I actually hadn't at that time. So this is actually another little gameplay I had there as well. I think I actually got 5 kills on this gameplay. So, but what I was saying though is it doesn't matter as much about like your aiming and your gunfighting skills whenever you can see people before they see you. You know what I mean? That's what matters more than any of it, because I don't care how good you are at shooting. If somebody sees you before you see them, they've got almost a 90% chance to kill you versus you killing them, no matter, not even talking about like skill levels and stuff. So, that's the first point of like skill, is figuring out where people are before you actually go and start shooting, because that's what I'm saying. It's going to be like shooting fish in a barrel if you can see them before they see you. But if you both see each other at the same time, then now you've actually got a like true balanced, even combat situation, and you never want that. You always want to have that upper hand. You always want to like outsmart them before you even get into an engagement with them. And once you start learning that, then you start becoming a lot smarter with that aspect of it. But yeah, it's just about like just kind of figuring out the basis and the parameters of what it is that you're actually playing here. And once you do that, you get a little bit of the map recognition down. You get a little bit of figuring out where some of the cities are, the inner cities and stuff like that, or towns or whatever you want to call them. Then it does get a lot easier. You start learning how to kind of scope out where certain areas where people could be like crossing over a mountain, things like that. You definitely learn those little spots, and also just like that right there. You know, I could have been so naive to turn back and look at my back if I would have just stayed looking at those dudes that were shooting each other over there, which is a like pretty rookie mistake to do that. If I would have just stayed so focused on those dudes shooting over there, I wouldn't have even turned around and caught that glimpse of that guy right there. That's why it's so important to be looking in all directions if you're not in that cave type scenario. You really do have to keep your head on a complete swivel in this game. And it's just figuring out like what weapons are going to be the best for certain engagements and things like that. You know, having when you're going to have your weapon on full auto versus semi-automatic. I would say the only real occasion you're going to want your weapon on fully automatic is like at those mid to short ranges, and it's kind of like even at a mid range, I almost think it's semi-automatic would be better off in most occasions, unless you know where they're going to be exactly. If you know where they're going to be exactly, then I guess it's not as critical to have it on as full auto in certain occasions, but full auto is in this game is not like full auto in a Call of Duty. Full auto in this game is like a realistic fully automatic sense. You're gonna blow through your ammo. The gun's gonna kick so much you might not even hit them with any shots at all. That there's definitely a potential for that. So unless they are right up in your grill, there's really no point to have it on full auto. And I mean, you can shoot the semi-automatic pretty fast in this game. You really can. And also figuring out, like, you know how much more kick you're going to get from the AK on full auto versus like the M4 on full auto. So you're going to be able to have that M4 on full auto at a way longer distance than the AK on full auto. And depending on if you have a sight or don't have a sight or whatever, definitely plays into it as well. But yeah, that's just the biggest thing that I learned is just figuring out, like, you know, you're not going to have people way outside of the blue zone. You're not going to have a ton of people way on the outskirts of the map. You might have some people like in certain places like the military base, but for the most part, people are not going to land out there. So your back is almost covered in certain like map type scenarios, and in a certain map sense, it's covered. And when you find those places on the map, it's all more central focus. So the more central you get on the map, the more you need to keep your head on a swivel and be looking in all directions. But if you're on the outskirts, all you really have to do is look towards the inner part of the map. So this guy was coming in right here, could have it on full auto, man. And when you got it on full auto, it will take somebody down at that range, man. Like, I think you'd be better off with a full auto anything at that range versus like a shotgun. I mean, I honestly think that. And when it comes to looting in this game, I feel like when you first drop down, unless there is somebody right on your inner asshole, there's no reason to loot a pistol or a shotgun or like any of those really crappy guns. See, right here was an occasion where I probably shouldn't have had it on full auto, but I did anyways. Took me a little bit longer to kill that guy than it might would have. That's still an okay full auto range, I guess, but if it gets any further than that, you're really doing less than more, I would say. But what I'm saying, though, is when you're looting and you don't have anyone right beside you, don't even waste your time looting pistols and shotguns and shit. Like, odds are you're probably going to find some kind of better weapon than that, either like a SCAR or an AK or whatever, or a sniper for that matter. Whatever you find but there's no point in wasting time on those guns that are just almost completely inadequate anyways. You know what I'm saying? And like I'm saying, unless somebody is right on you, or you've kind of been running around for 5 or 6 buildings and can't find anything, then obviously you probably want to pick up a pistol. But that's just a little, beginner level tip. Like, there's no reason in even wasting your time, because odds are you're going to run over here to this other building and get an actual assault rifle quicker than you would have spent all that time sitting there picking up the pistol and the shotgun and the crossbow and the this and the that you could have already got over there, got a better weapon, and been more prepared for those enemies coming in. So even if they are close to you, for a certain extent, it is almost better to just go pick up the assault rifle, try to look for that instead of picking up everything else, because you might end up being able to defend yourself even better anyways. So that's just some little things that I learned with this game on the early stages, and just letting you guys know there are hackers in this game, so always watch your death cams, always look if something seems fishy, if some dude just all of a sudden instantly blasts your face hole in like 2.5 seconds, even though I have actually done that legitimately. I've walked around a corner one time and zoomed in on a guy, and my sights, as soon as I zoomed in, they went right to his head and I shot. Like, that is potentially possible. I could see somebody thinking that occasion where I did that, I could definitely see somebody thinking that I was like hacking when I did that, but I wasn't. I just happened to, it was such a lucky thing where I just came around the corner. I knew that guy was in there because he was like making noises and stuff. So I came around the corner, zoomed in, and just like started shooting instantly, thinking that I was going to have to like be on full auto, right? I was thinking, is this going to be a gun battle, because it was kind of close quarters, and I zoomed in, shot, and it instantly hit him in the head and killed him in like one shot. So in those occasions, it's a dude being legit, but there are times where, like, for instance, if one dude takes out your entire team in like 5 seconds and never misses a single shot on burst, and you're all in different positions, that's probably a hacker. Or if somebody is aiming over here and then all of a sudden he aims at you and you're actually behind a wall, but he's aiming directly on you, that's probably a hacker. There's different things where you can kind of tell what's going on, so definitely report that stuff. It's unfortunate that this game has that, but yeah, that's just some kind of beginner tips, and just learn. A lot of it is just figuring out the mind of the other person that you're going up against. Like, you start to figure out, okay, are they the type to run? Are they the type to aggress you? What kind of personality traits do they have? It's almost like playing poker or something. You're trying to figure out what that other person is going to be doing. And once you figure that out, it's a lot easier to engage them, because you can counteract what they're doing pretty easily. And yeah, I mean, it's about looting enough, but not looting too much. You can kind of over loot and then you're just wasting time. It's about getting to zones quicker than other people. All different kinds of little tips and stuff in there. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of go in here and talk about some of the really early on things that I've been learning about the game, and got really close to my first victory not that long ago. Really, really close. I don't know how much a victory really depicts how good you did, because what's so silly about this game is you can drop down and win a match with only getting 1 kill. I mean, you could do that. You could actually get a victory in this game with 1 kill, or you could kill 15 people and not win the match. So it's like, well, what is the ultimate goal here then? Are you trying to win the match, or are you trying to get a bunch of kills? That's always been kind of a gray area with these battle royale game modes, in my opinion. It's like, I'm bored of the game if I'm not sitting there getting kills, but if I just don't get kills and there's no attraction, no attention towards me, and I can get all the way to the middle, go to like the top 5 at least, and get right in that little gun battle, but it was completely boring the whole way. So you want to get in those gun battles, even though it's not necessarily better for you in the long run as far as winning the match. That's something where the battle royale, what you're actually trying to win, is it even all that much better than the extent of the goal anyways? Is it more about the killing than it is the winning the match? Or I don't know, man. I mean, it's I think just winning the match is almost like an extra bonus if you are lucky enough to get to that point, but it's almost more about the kill aspect of it, which is crazy because that's not even what that's not even what the game mode's about. You're supposed to just make it to the middle and be the last guy surviving, but it kind of can turn into that Call of Duty style of gameplay when everyone lands in one spot. So yeah, it's bizarre. It becomes very interesting when you look at it in that sense and can't really figure out what the ultimate goal is. I mean, there obviously is one, but I guess it just comes down to a combination of how many kills you have and if you won the match or not, right? Because that shows how good you can move around, shows how good you can get to the center, and still get kills along the way. And you obviously can get loot from killing people. That's one of the best things ever to do in this game is you don't really have to worry too much about looting as long as you know where that guy is and you can kill him. He can loot for you. You can actually have dudes like do all the work for you in this game. It's quite funny how you can do that. Let them sit there and loot for 30 minutes. You shoot him, get all of his shit, and then you're rocking and ready to roll without actually having to do any work for it. So, but either way, man, that's some of the stuff I've learned. So appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.